Obviously, before I got this job, I was living in Atlanta, Georgia, for a long time, just scouting the Southeast. And then when the Rams moved out to L.A., I just kind of stayed in Atlanta. But obviously, have been to Georgia practices a lot, and has been around that program a lot. And it's unlike anything else that I've seen live in terms of a college practice, in terms of just the intensity. Saban at Alabama was very similar, but just the intensity, the physicality, the detail, the tempo, the whole thing, the energy. I mean, it's very important. It's very important. I think I may have made the joke in the past that in the later rounds, Fip could probably come in and just run the draft just because it's so. But, look, when the guy earns a role on teams and, he's good enough to be part of the depth, man, he's got a good opportunity to go to the game. And there might be another player at his same position that might be, let's take wide receiver. If there's another player that's just maybe a little bit better route runner or maybe have a little bit better hands. But if it doesn't have the attitude or the skill set to contribute on special teams, you're talking about battling for a fifth spot. No, we're going with the guy that contributes on special teams. That's why it's critically important. I understand that, like, fans and people on the outside of this building, they naturally have reactions, and they'll have comments, thoughts about the decisions that we make. And I think the tough part about it is that the people on the outside, they have very limited information about the decisions that we make. And we have all the information which goes into that decision. Also, not just the information that's available, but also the work that we have to put into it. The people, let's say the fans or the media or anybody, I don't think that someone's watching hours and hours and hours and hours of film. Wouldn't expect them to. Probably have a job. That takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time, a lot of strain. That's the hard part. But, you only have the information that's available to you. So when you're only seeing a mock draft, well, the mock draft, that person has limited information available to them. That person hasn't watched all the film. You know what I mean? So, and I don't expect them to. So that's the part where it's like you're gonna have questions, you're gonna have thoughts, but if you have, I've always thought, will there ever be an evolution where right now, if you see something about a player and you have a position, stats, PFF, stuff like that, you might even have highlights. Or you might have seen them on television, which is almost a cardinal sin in scouting. You don't television scout because it's not the same thing. So a lot of people you see on television, you watch the film, it doesn't look anything close to it. So, but those are all the things that I don't expect anybody else that is not in our shoes to do it. But all that stuff that we do, all that information we have, all that work that we do goes into the decision. And so someone that doesn't do that work or has that information available to them, they don't know that. So they're going to comment and have an opinion on that decision. So you just got to have confidence in what you do. So probably a long-winded answer, but I think that's really the understanding of it. Incredible story, by the way, but look, again, that's not why we acquired him. We acquired him because he plays with his hair on fire. And as let's call it developmental as he is, he plays hard. We talk about just, I think I said the other night, what do you have to do at that position? You got to set edges and win rushes. And when I say win rushes, it's not just getting a sack. You can win a rush just by just harassment and power and collapsing the pocket and just sheer effort. So we just like the upside of him. We like his football character, his work ethic, his passion. He was so fired up he was so far up on the phone to get here. You know, those are the type of stuff you want to hear. But yeah, we just fit. He's been one of those guys that sometimes like they start off as like one of the favorites, and then sometimes they might drift off because you see so much and you know you do so much film. But he's a guy that just kept staying on the steady climb and ascension. The more and more and more we watched of him, so fired up about him. He's going to do everything he can. He's going to try to make sure that he's going to maximize every single thing that he's got in his body. He's going to be very, very coachable. You know, the kid would probably sleep in his facility if he could. You know, that's kind of what his makeup is. You know, but and he just brings a lot of energy. I mean, you saw it at the combine. It was just, he's a nonstop kid. So his motor reflects what his personality is, and as you guys know, it's going to fit right in here. Yeah, probably when I first turned on the film. You know, you get a list of all the guys that have, you know, some received an invite to an all-star game if you hadn't caught the film during the season. And so we should make sure that we get covered. And that's when I first started watching this tape. And then that's when I was just like, look, he's got some things to learn and he's got a ways to go. But you can make up a lot of things if you're playing with effort and toughness and physicality. And he's a good athlete, too. So we're excited about him. I don't know. You guys been on my ass pretty hard on it, so it was just a little bit. I was like, 6th round, is that, you know, I don't know if that suffices. Absolutely, like that makes it even more similar, like how when we took Gio, you know, last year, you know, it's just those guys, or we take Vaki that, you know, hadn't been playing running back that long, like those kind of things. It's once you see enough of it, and if they have the right makeup and football character and passion and work ethic and being coachable, you know, they have a big upside. So it's going to be cool to see how far he grows. It depends on the player. There are certain players, especially offensive linemen, that come in and say, look, let's just keep him at one spot. You know, that was kind of the tempting thing with Gio when he first got here. He was like, man, we want to put him at guard and put him at tackle. You know, the original plan was tackle, but he did some things at guard and you kind of go back and forth. But, you know, it was almost like maybe it's best to just kind of leave him in one spot. And there's a lot of kids that come out in the draft that are the same way. But the ones that are smart, and especially the ones that have shown it on film as well, those are the ones that you feel really good about, because Hank is great, is that he's going to cross-train them at everything. And, you know, if they've never done one position before, he's going to throw them out there because he's an elite-level coach, so he's going to cross-train those guys. But, yeah, that versatility, that can kind of I can do a lot of things for you from a roster standpoint, especially if they're on the active and you're trying to construct a game day roster. It can do a lot for you. Hank, he'll cross train all those guys. When you said center, I was thinking about Frank right now, but Hank, he's going to cross train all those guys. So if they've only been a guard, then he's going to, you know, put a ball between their legs and see if he can snap. But again, if they can, Hank's not going to put somebody in a tough position either. So he's going to be able to assess if they have the right makeup and mentality and communicative skills. That's a big part of it's not about just being able to snap. I mean, you have to have elite communication skills to play that position, not just as a starter, but even as a backup. I think he's going to be very valuable. And again, he's talking about another one that's got legit proven position versatility as well. So just with his experience, having legit stripes on the wall, you know, glad that we still have him. And I think he can help a lot of those young guys. But because there's a little bit of a youth injection that we're trying to, that I think that it was necessary, that hopefully we kind of started that journey, because, you know, everybody can't play forever, you know, and I think everybody knows that. But that was something that we intended, that we wanted to get done. You just never know if it can happen. Just like and I'm not saying this just because you guys are on my ass about it, but some things just have to line up right. You can go into and say, man, we want to really beef up, get better O-line, D-line. Man, if it doesn't line up right, then you just can't do it. Just the same thing I told you guys about corner position, the outside corner position, the first 3 years. Why don't you guys draft an outside corner? Why should I have that? Well, we're not ignoring an outside corner. it just hadn't lined up where we have conviction about the player and we're in a position to actually get one. And then we got 3 of them, and then y'all say we got too many. So you just can't win with those guys. If he gets his deal done, he gets his deal done. But, you know, we have our internal communication and process and plan in place. You know, you just unfortunately can't control those other things. I know that, you know, you try to get in front of some things or that, but, you know, you obviously don't have control over it. Yeah. I'm not going to speak on that. Up here at this podium, I try to keep all the contractual things, you know, in-house and internal. So I just don't think that's fair to the player or the agent. I think the proof's in the pudding in terms of what they have put out, but it's just I get a better feel in terms of just actually witnessing it and seeing it and being there up close for both programs. And just as I've been around the Georgia program, I've been around the Alabama program when Saban was there in terms of just how it's ran and those practices and the regimen, and just kind of have a little bit of insight of what they go through. And it's very much like what they're entering into in the NFL. So, and look, you know, it's not I went to a small school. You know, I went to a small school, and you know, we may not have had those same resources or that same type of preparation. But at the end of the day, you know, whether you go to a small school or a program like that, you still have to be a good enough player, and it still is going to come down to that. There's just a lot of information that may not be available, or you know, or even the work. So if you only hear or see that a player is supposed to be this, and that's all you hear. And if you don't take the time out to get more of the information or watch all the film from the past 2 years, it's not just him, but for any prospect, you know, it's just it's hard. And again, the information is not available. So, you know, look, I never want to see someone, you know, be in a tough situation but I've seen it happen before, and I'm not to say that I'm blaming one person or the other, but you know, sometimes people, you know, they have you know, let's call it not the player, but the media can put a spin on something that, you know, might not be the whole story.